Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Off the Cuff. I'm your host, Eman, and I have with me today Sakina Naz. Now, Sakina, before I ask you to introduce yourself or even ask you your first question, I want to just let everyone know what we'll be doing today. So, today's episode, and those of you who recognize Sakina might guess this, is about women's cricket. Actually, the title of the video is probably going to tell you it's about women's cricket in Pakistan. It's about the year that we had and the year that we have to look forward to now. It's about the domestic system. It's about anything that really comes to our head because Sakina and I always have these conversations on the timeline, in DMs, and honestly, with our own friends as well, I imagine, about women's cricket in Pakistan, about what's going on and what we dislike and what we like. And so we thought that we would just get on an episode today and just talk about that. So, Sakina, hi, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. It's a pleasure to have this podcast or this thing with you because I think we both have been planning it in our heads for quite a time now. So it feels good to have this opportunity and talk about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a lot to talk about. I think one of the things that I want to start off with is something that we were discussing and you have been bringing up as well. It's about the domestic system. Like, for example, today, I was literally drafting a tweet. India's senior one day women's trophy just kicked off today, 4th January. It's going to last, I believe, a few weeks. And they have 128 matches. And they have, I think, like a ridiculous number of teams. Like I lost count because they have 17 matches today, and then they have a rest day, then they have 17 matches, and then the rest day, and then they have 17, and so on and so forth. Then they have pre-quarterfinals, and they have quarterfinals, and they have the final, obviously. And this has been going on since 2006. And 128 matches, Joe, that they're having these few weeks is, if you total the number of matches that we've had, our one day list day matches in the last, I think, 6 years, since 2018, you get, I believe the number is 42. And then if you double that, make it 84, and then you add 42 to that again. So you multiply it by three. That's the number of matches that India is having in 1 month. That's the number of matches their senior teams are playing. And we played that across 6 years. I mean, a third of that across 6 years. So, Sakina, tell me about, like, now that I've given this kind of introduction to how, like, the state of our domestic system, especially in one day cricket, how do you feel about our domestic system? What are you hoping for? Oh, you've been a fan for a long time. So, what have you seen over the years? Have you seen any improvement?
Iman, very honestly, our domestic is non-existent. It doesn't exist actually. हम लोग जो है वो kind of एक warm up मैच टूर्नामेंट देते हैं एक वीक का, जिस जो हम ब्रेक सब ज़्यादा लंबी हो जाती है तो हम एक 1 वीक दे देते हैं टू गेट देम अ बिट वार्म अप, ताकि जब इंटरनेशनल सीजन स्टार्ट हो तो वो उसमें परफॉर्म हो सके. ओवर द इयर्स अगर हम बात करें तो आई थिंक आई स्टार्टेड वाचिंग अराउंड 2016, लाइक प्रॉपरली फॉलोइंग. तो उस टाइम पे डिपार्टमेंट्स हुआ करते थे, तो वो जो सिस्टम था इट, तो मेरे लिए जो फर्स्ट सबसे बड़ा शौक आया था उस टाइम ये था कि जेटीवीएल की टीम के अंदर वी हैव ऑल दो स्टार प्लेयर्स. सो बस लाइक व्हाट एंड व्हाई. और फिर पता चला कि अच्छा इट्स इट्स बीन लाइक दिस फॉर लाइक अराउंड 5 to 6 years नाउ. तो मैंने कहा मतलब किसी को ध्यान नहीं आया कि फोर्सफुली या किसी तरह इंसेंटिवाइज करके प्लेयर्स को हम मतलब डिस्पर्स करें आगे किसी और टीम्स की तरफ लेके जाएं. तो आई थिंक द मेजर इशू इज लाइक के खाना पूरी होती है डोमेस्टिक सिस्टम के अंदर. वैसे तो इंटरनेशनल वुमेन क्रिकेट के अंदर भी हमारी खाना पूरी हो रही होती है, लेकिन डोमेस्टिक में वो बहुत ज़्यादा है. अगर अभी आप जाके पिछले और फिर सबसे एक जो मुझे जो मेजर जो मुझे बहुत शदीद गुस्सा आता है जिस चीज़ के ऊपर, वो ये होता है कि एक्सक्यूज़ दिया जाता है कि प्लेयर्स नहीं हैं. आई थिंक अराउंड 2013 या 2014, मतलब बहुत पुराना कोई मैंने एक देखा था टूर्नामेंट का. उसमें 16 टीम्स थी रीजन्स की. पाकिस्तान में ही हुआ था वो टूर्नामेंट भी. तो आई ऑलवेज वंडर कि अगर आप सिस्टम के अंदर हर एवरी ईयर 2005 से बीसीबी हो क्रिकेट चला रहा है, 20 to 30 प्लेयर्स ही पुश कर रहा होता, तो अभी तक हमारे पास 100+ का पूल होता. आपने वो भी नहीं किया है. तो अब अभी अभी तो आप देखो तो हम लोग कोविड के बाद से वन टूर्नामेंट ईयर एवरेज कर रहे हैं. हम या तो T20 टूर्नामेंट एक खेलते हैं पूरे साल में डोमेस्टिक का, या फिर पूरे साल में हम वनडे खेलते हैं एक। अभी अंडर 19 का थोड़ा सा शुरू हुआ है सिस्टम, लेकिन अंडर 19 से भी पहले आपको एक स्कूल क्रिकेट का टूर्नामेंट चाहिए। आई एंड ईमान, आई विल टेल यू कि ये भी ऑलरेडी हो चुका है पहले पाकिस्तान में, कि आपने स्कूल क्रिकेट टूर्नामेंट भी हुए हैं। 2018 के अराउंड एक स्कूल क्रिकेट टूर्नामेंट हुआ था इन लाहौर, जिसमें आपके हाई एंट्री स्कूल्स ने कुछ ने पार्टिसिपेट किया था, इन बस 5 और 6 स्कूल्स। तो आपको बल्कि इधर से पुश करना है, और ये सब कुछ चीज़ें हो चुकी हैं, बट वो होता ये है कि कोई एक आके इनिशिएटिव लेता है, और भाई तो सिस्टम चेंज होता है, तो अगला वाला जो है वो उसके सब चीज़ें साइडलाइन करके एक नए सिरे से शुरू करता है चीज़ों को, और फिर वो एग्जीक्यूट भी नहीं होती और वहीं के वहीं छोड़ दी जाती हैं। तो अब अगर आप अभी मुझसे ये पूछते हो कि मुझे क्या उस एक्सपेक्टेशंस हैं डोमेस्टिक से, या मुझे क्या चाहिए, तो आई थिंक आई डोंट नीड देम टू लाइक जंप टू द लेवल ऑफ इंडिया और इंग्लैंड और ऑस्ट्रेलिया। आई जस्ट वांट देम टू फिल लाइक एटलीस्ट दोज बॉक्सेस के। अच्छा, अंडर 19 से पहले हमें एक टूर्नामेंट चाहिए, अंडर 19 चाहिए, अंडर 19 से ब्रिज करने के लिए सीनियर्स तक एक टूर्नामेंट चाहिए, और फिर सीनियर्स के 2 टूर्नामेंट तो एटलीस्ट चाहिए है ना डोमेस्टिक के अंदर। तो आप इतना भी कर लोगे तो इट लुक्स एटलीस्ट समथिंग जो सब्सटेंशियल, तो आपको प्लेयर्स प्रोड्यूस करके देगा।
Yeah. Yeah, nahi, I think you're absolutely spot on. How can we talk about growth if there's nothing that's growing? They keep doing one initiative and then scrapping it. A few years ago, I spoke with Miss Marina Iqbal, who's obviously been involved in Pakistan women's cricket for a long time. So she and Uruj and Asmavia were in charge at that time. It was the Wasim Khan wala era. So she spoke about, I asked her, I was like, about women's PSL. And this is, I think, 2019 या 20 की बात, नहीं 20 की बात होगी, हाँ. And she was like, अभी तो PSL की बात ही नहीं कर सकते because we have all these plans for, age group cricket and then under 23, under 19, under 16 की divisions बनानी and stuff. And we're doing that. And I was so happy. And like, obviously I couldn't say anything then. Now I think I can say it because it's been 4 years and we haven't seen it. Okay. But I was so happy to hear that because I was like, yes, I completely agree. Like, I don't think we need to jump to like a league kind of level. We need to start from the bottom up. And we see that in Bangladesh as well, with the school tournament that they started. Look, I don't know the intricacies of their domestic system. I don't claim to know that. Magar, the fact that they're doing something like that, and the fact that we have to wait and then keep asking, and then every few years we see something and then it doesn't get followed through. Obviously, BB men's cricket in Pakistan, there's a lot of chaos. I mean, someone earlier today was talking about how we don't really need the president's trophy and stuff. What we need is something for the Qaeda Azam's trophy. It was just a long thread. And I was thinking to myself reading that, कि like, okay, जब men's cricket in Pakistan में chaos होता है ना, they're still getting a lot of cricket. हमारे हमारे women's cricket में जब chaos होता है तो everyone just forgets about us. There was like, I think 2021 में, and like you were saying, I think 21 May there was a domestic tournament, then 22 May there was a T20 tournament, and then 23 May there was like a small phase one and then small phase two, and phase two I think lasted like a few days, like 5 days, where the one day matches were happening. And it's like, you know it's just pure negligence, it's pure irresponsible kind of behavior. And I think that really bothers us, especially when at the end of the year, the PCB is like putting out a graphic where they're like, oh, these many matches. And it is so sad, it is so sad to see the number of matches compared to like what everyone else is playing. Forget men's cricket, what everyone else is playing, okay? And then it feels even worse when we win or we pull something off incredible, and then people are like, Dekho, our women's cricket is so nice, and like Tanya Malik goes on a, like on TV and stuff, and I'm just like, okay, and but yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
आपने अभी बात की उस ग्राफिक की, एंड अगर उस ग्राफिक के अंदर
Yeah.
देखो तो आपकी जो नेशनल नेशनल टीम है हमारी वुमेन्स की, उसने ज़्यादा मैचेस खेले हैं फ्रॉम द होल डोमेस्टिक, कि डोमेस्टिक में जितने मैचेस हुए हैं उससे ज़्यादा मैचेस तो नेशनल टीम ने खेल लिए। तो अब आप इस चीज़ को भी
Yeah.
कंसिडर करो फॉर अ मोमेंट, कि आपका जो प्लेयर जो इंटरनेशनल टीम से ट्रैवल कर रहा था, उसने कितना एक्सपीरियंस गेन किया इस साल के अंदर, और उसके मुकाबले में जो प्लेयर डोमेस्टिक में था आपके, उसने क्या गेन किया है। तो फिर उन दोनों
Yeah.
का जो स्किल सेट है वो आपस में इतना बड़ा गैप आ जाता है कि जो डोमेस्टिक का प्लेयर जब जाते हैं इंटरनेशनल साइड के अंदर, तो प्लेयर्स का आपस में गैप इतना बड़ा है स्किल सेट का, और फिर एक और गैप है जो आपका दूसरी टीम्स के साथ है स्किल्स का। तो
Yeah.
आई डोंट नो वो ग्राफिक तो देख के तो पहले तो एकदम से आया कि ये मतलब कि अगर वो ना मेंशन करते ना वुमेन क्रिकेट को, तो इट माइट हम लोगों को शायद वो इतना दूसरा ना लगता, लेकिन 857 मैचेस फॉर द मेन साइड एंड 27 मैचेस फॉर द वुमेन डोमेस्टिक टूर्नामेंट, या खुदा का खौफ करो। और फिर आपने
Unreal.
आपने वही वाली बात की ना कि आई डोंट नो कि तानिया मलिक का मुझे नहीं याद कि उन्होंने कभी कोई प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस की हो। आई थिंक शी हैड टॉक्ड वंस इन हर टेन्योर टिल नाउ टू द मीडिया। तो अगर आपका चेयरमैन ऑफ पीसीबी आता है बैठ के बात करने के लिए प्रेस से, तो व्हाई आवर प्रेस इज नॉट डिमांडिंग तानिया मलिक को भी तो बात करनी चाहिए ना, व्हाट शी इज डूइंग।
Mhm.
वन ऑफ प्रोग्राम में
Yeah.
जाती हैं तो वही रट्टे रटाए चार जुमले होते हैं जो बार बार बोले जाते हैं। इस टाइम जो आपकी सिलेक्शन कमेटी में लोग हैं, दे आर वर्किंग विद वुमेन टीम फॉर इयर्स नाउ। आपके शायद
Hmm.
मतलब है कि सलीम जाफर साहब भी आई थिंक अराउंड 2020 से टीम के साथ हैं, और उस्माविया
Yeah,
इकबाल
it's
तो
a
2018 अराउंड 2017 आई थिंक, या 2018 के अंदर शी हैड हर फर्स्ट टेन्योर। और मरीना इकबाल भी उसी टाइम के अराउंड से पार्ट है मैनेजमेंट का। तो जब आप जो है
hmm.
कोचेस इतने चेंज किस करते हो, जब आप जो है वो आपके कैप्टन चेंज होता है, आपके प्लेयर्स ड्रॉप होते हैं, तो why these people are not being held accountable for their actions। अब इतने अरसा हो गया कोई किसी चीफ सेलेक्टर ने प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस नहीं की टीम अनाउंस करने के लिए, आप बाकी सब कुछ तो छोड़ दो। they are
Yeah.
they are not being held accountable for any of their action।
Yeah, exactly. And also they keep saying this thing कि oh 2023 में we gave domestic contracts. उन domestic contracts का क्या बना? क्या बना? What are they doing? What are those domestic cricketers doing? Do any of them have a chance to make it into the senior team? No, they don't because they're not getting the opportunity to perform anywhere. The fact that I like Shawal Zulfikar, I think she's a great talent. The fact that we had to turn to Shawal Zulfikar, who is a teenager, as an opening choice for ODIs and even an opening choice for T20s, to be honest, because we could not find any other, and no one is better than an 18-year-old. And Shawal has her own flaws too because she's a growing cricketer. She's a teenager. But we had to turn to her. That is a failure of the system. I mean, even while I was writing that article on Shawal Zulfikar about how insane her journey is, I was even thinking, I was like, but she shouldn't have had to have this journey, you know? She
Right।
shouldn't have to be fast tracked. It's not a fast bowler, okay, oh, you blood them early, you bring them on quickly, you like give them exposure, that they, get used to their workload and stuff like that. And then they're, fast bowlers typically retire early or, they're injury prone and so on and so forth. It's a batter. A batter peaks around 27, 28. What are you doing bringing her 10 years early? Like, and when people are like, oh, Iman Fatma has some kind of technical flaws, she's slogs too much, her defense isn't great. I'm like, it doesn't have to be. Again, she's 18 years old.
Yes,
Like, she'll
exactly।
get over it. Like, she'll learn it. It's part of the process. Um,
या
but yeah, it's yeah. Go on.
या अभी आप बात कर रहे थे ना, तो आई जस्ट रिमेम्बर्ड कि मरीना इकबाल वाज सॉरी मरीना इकबाल कह रही हूँ, मुनीबा अली वाज ट्रैवलिंग विद द अंडर 2016 T20 वर्ल्ड कप स्क्वाड। और आप अंदाजा करो, शी वाज लाइक 17 or 16 at that time and she was traveling with that squad। तो अभी भी आपको, अगर आपको जो आपके अंडर 19 क्रिकेटर्स हैं उनको फास्ट फॉरवर्ड करना पड़ रहा है, एंड देन आपको याद होगा अरूप शाह मेक्स हर डेब्यू वेयरली, लाइक शी वाज लाइक 16 or 15 at that time।
15. Yeah, she was 15,
शी
which is
वाज 15।
insane.
या ऑब्वियसली
Yeah.
बिकॉज ओके, साजिदा शाह ने 12 इयर्स की एज में डेब्यू किया था, विस्मा ने 15 साल की उम्र में डेब्यू किया था। इट मेक सेंस टिल ऑफ दैट टाइम कि ओके, आप एक नई टीम बिल्ड कर रहे थे उस टाइम, जिसको अच्छे से बैट पकड़ना आता था, जिसको थोड़ी सी बॉल घुमानी आती थी, यू जस्ट ब्रिंग देम इन। लेकिन आप
Yeah.
इतने अरसे के बाद भी यू आर स्टिल डूइंग दिस थिंग, इट मीन्स कि आपने कुछ भी
Yeah.
नहीं किया है अभी तक,
Yeah.
आप
No,
वहीं
yeah,
के वहीं खड़े
absolutely.
हैं।
Yeah, and it's not like, look, it's not fair to these players because they're not all prodigies. Like
Exactly।
Fatma Sana is young and she's, you can look at her and you can say she's going to be one of the best in the world. And even players like Rube and Shawal and Iman and all of these have great potential. Okay, like you see them and you're like, yeah, these players are gonna start for us one day. But when you send them in early, first of all, it makes their stats look ugly. Like if you you
Yes।
divide Muniba's numbers when she was clearly too young for the international scene to when she starts coming into her own, which I think was only like 1.5 year ago
या
when I really started to see Muniba
यस।
bat.
You're
like
right.
properly the way she does in gymnastic, right? And it's not fair to these players. It ruins their legacy, and also it sets a terrible, terrible precedent. And the thing is, they keep highlighting it as like, like young blood. Oh my god, it's crazy. No, it's not. It's your failure. Kudos to the players that overcome all of this. I'm 20. How old am I? 25. Okay, and if someone told me at 16 or 17, okay, like, oh, go debut for Pakistan. I mean, the kind of mental strength you need, especially when you are a Pakistani woman, is insane. But yeah, I wish they would just acknowledge their previous failures, because when they acknowledge their previous failures, right, or like even their very recent failures, is when the system will get better. They keep sugarcoating it, or they keep dodging questions. They keep talking about 70 domestic contracts or 80 domestic contracts handed out without actually giving them a tournament to play. I mean, what's the point? What do they do with the contracts?
एग्जैक्टली एंड इफ यू थिंक अबाउट इट, आपने 70 कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स दिए हैं, अगर आप साल के अंत उन 70 प्लेयर्स को 5 मैचेस भी नहीं खेलने को दे रहे हो, तो इट मीन्स कि जब
Yeah,
नेक्स्ट ईयर आप कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स अनाउंस करोगे, तो वो आप जो है वो टोटली इमेजिनेशन पे छोड़ रहे हो, जिन्होंने अनाउंस करने हैं कि वो किस किस बेस के ऊपर बना रहे हैं। आपने प्लेयर्स को उतना चांस
absolutely.
दिया भी नहीं टू प्रूव देमसेल्व्स, टू गेट द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट अगेन, और जिन्होंने पीछे वालों ने आना है वो किस बेस पे आएंगे?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. I think right now we have 80. Let's talk about what we want. Okay, like pretend like you are going to announce something, right? In the coming weeks. I would say you got 80 domestic contracts, and then on top of that you have 25, I think, international contracted players. The numbers might be a little bit iffy, but the total count I believe comes to 105. I know this because Sakina and I are going to be doing, with a few other friends, we're going to be doing a women's league draft soon. And so I had to get the list of all the cricketers that are actively playing and have recently played, at some level, even if it's like the lowest of the low, but some level, right? And that's 105. If you take 15 teams, you get 7 teams of with 105 players. You got 7 team tournament. If you take 13, you get 8. But also, this brings me to think. So I'm saying that you could have a 7 or 18 tournament, but this is reminding me of what you said the other day. Was that I think the under 19 tour is clashing with what should be our domestic season in the coming weeks. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I think I saw a player's story in which she said that in the mid-Jan we are expecting a domestic season to start. Although we haven't got
Okay.
a score announcement from the Bangladesh, as Bangladesh is hosting that under
Yeah.
19 कि उनके तरफ से अभी हमें schedule नहीं मिला है. But I think अगर अभी
Yeah.
तक नहीं announce हुआ, it means कि it will be in the second half of the Jan at least. तो
Yeah.
अगर हम उस टाइम तक जा रहे हैं तो it's definitely going to clash. तो या तो कैंप चल रहा होगा, या फिर टूर्नामेंट उधर वो टीम ट्रैवल कर चुकी हुई होगी, और आपकी आई डोंट नो हाउ टू मेक सेंस आउट ऑफ इट, क्योंकि आपके पास साल के अंदर कितने ही मैचेस हैं कि आप फिर टूर्नामेंट्स क्लैश कर रहे हैं। आपने लास्ट ईयर भी डोमेस्टिक हमारा क्लैश किया था इमर्जिंग एशिया कप के स्क्वाड के स्केड्यूल के साथ। तो व्हाट्स द पॉइंट
Yep.
ऑफ इट? आपका प्लेयर जब अपने अपने ही कंट्री के सीनियर्स के साथ खेलेगा ही नहीं तो सीखेगा कैसे?
Yep. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, so great. So even if we are to hypothetically announce something, it's definitely clashing. I think the West Indies tour is also coming soon. No?
Yeah,
Or is that Feb?
it's in Feb. It's in Feb in
Yeah.
schedule, but obviously अभी तक schedule नहीं आया है. The tentative
Yeah,
time
of course.
period is in February, and I'm not sure कि
Yeah.
हम लोगों का उसका क्या होगा. That exhibition matches.
Yeah, another thing. What? Where are they? Like I haven't heard anything. I don't know. It's a different government. I don't think these guys care at all. I remember like thinking it was so funny when I think it was Najim Sethi was meeting with like the women's team, and like he was like giving interviews and stuff. But I honestly I would take that over this radio silence. I would I would take Ramiz maybe lying, maybe telling the truth about having a women's league over this radio silence.
Obviously,
Um,
obviously. Like
I would take anything.
like can you
I would take anything of substance.
कैन यू इमेजिन कि अगर आप अब हम अभी स्टार्ट नहीं कर रहे हैं, अभी हम एग्जीबिशन मैचेस पे जा रहे हैं, एंड ऑलरेडी आपके पास 3 बड़ी लीग्स हैं इस टाइम इंटरनेशनली, एंड देन यू हैव अ लीग फ्रॉम द वेस्ट इंडीज दैट इज गोइंग ऑन, आई थिंक 2 सीजन हो
Yep.
चुके हैं उसके, एंड देन बांग्लादेश इज प्लानिंग आई गेस। तो
Yep.
आपके पास कुछ भी नहीं है इस टाइम, एंड इन नेक्स्ट 3 to
Yep.
4 years आई फील लाइक के ऑलरेडी इंग्लैंड जो है वो अपने हर सीजन के पिछले सीजन से ज़्यादा टिकट सेल कर रहा है, तो वो
Yeah.
आगे चला जाएगा। आपसे बाकी सब जो है वो फाइनेंशियली आप एक बहुत बड़ा एक काइंड ऑफ एक डिजास्टर करने जा रहे हैं, कि जब बाकी सारे कंट्रीज मूव फॉरवर्ड कर जाएंगे उस चीज से, कि वुमेन क्रिकेट टोटली डिपेंडेंट नहीं रहेगी फ्रॉम द रेवेन्यू ऑफ द मेंस क्रिकेट, और आपने कुछ भी नहीं किया हुआ होगा।
Yeah.
और आपकी ऑडियंस,
Yeah.
आपको ये भी देखना है कि आपकी ऑडियंस जो है सबसे ज्यादा रिलक्टेंट है इन सब कंट्रीज में से, टॉप 10 के कंट्रीज में से।
Yeah. Yeah, I think honestly, the way it's going right now, I don't know if I'm being really, really cynical, but it just feels like they're waiting for all the people that still care about women's cricket in Pakistan to just give up. And then they just want to keep going the way they are. Because look, if you think about what women's cricket in Pakistan has seen since 2005, are we really improving? I know that we spoke as a domestic system or not, but as a whole, I feel like the progress has been so, so slow. And I don't like acknowledging this because obviously I feel bad for my team. I love them. I'm so proud of them. You know, it was a really great year for us because we beat South Africa and New Zealand. But then we struggled so much in Bangladesh and then the World Cup as well. Like, I don't want to forget those bad moments because I want to stay angry, if that makes sense. Because when I stay angry is when I am writing, when I'm trying to hold the PCB accountable. Does that make sense?
या इट टोटली मेक्स सेंस, एंड एज यू सेड कि हम लोग शायद इम्प्रूव हमने उतना नहीं किया है जितना हम लोगों को फील होता है। उसकी एक सबसे बड़ी जो
Yeah.
एग्जांपल है आपके पास, वो इसी से ले लो कि अगर आप स्टार्स निकाल के देखो फ्रॉम द फॉर द ऑफ द प्लेयर्स हु डेब्यू इन 2005 और 2006 व्हेन द इनिशियली पीसीबी वाज बिल्डिंग देयर टीम, और आप अभी के प्लेयर्स के देखो, दे आर नॉट वेरी मच डिफरेंट। आपका अभी जो प्लेयर आता है वो भी उतना ही टाइम लेता है टू गेट स्टार्ट और सेटल इन दैट नेशनल सर्किट, जितना उस टाइम उस प्लेयर ने लिया था। इट मीन्स कि
Yep.
आपने अभी भी आप उसी लेवल पे खड़े हो, देखा जाए तो एक तरीके से।
Yep.
शायद सिर्फ इम्प्रूवमेंट ये आई है कि वो प्लेयर्स जो उस टाइम पीरियड से खेल रहे हैं, या उसके बाद 2010 और 2015 तक के टाइम पीरियड में जिन्होंने ज्वाइन किया था, नाउ दे आर दैट मच
Yep.
कैपेबल कि वो उस चीज़ को थोड़ा सा जो है वो मिटिगेट कर पाते हैं, और उस चीज़ को जो है वो
Yep.
परफॉर्म कर पाते हैं। तो
Yeah.
और वो बैलेंस रहता है, लेकिन आप उस एक स्टेज से
Yep.
आगे नहीं जा रहे हो, आप उसी एक स्टेज पे स्टक हो जहाँ पर आप, हम लोग सालों से अराउंड 7th के रैंक पे अटके हुए थे और अब हम नीचे आ चुके हैं उससे। तो
Yep.
आप इस चीज को
Yeah.
भी देख लो।
Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, I think I mean this has gotten a more depressing call than I thought it would be, to be honest.
Yeah.
But no, I think that what we have though that um I think I'm very grateful for and I want to see more of is that we haven't yet fallen to that level where we're the team that has one star player and if they don't get going we don't
Yes.
do anything,
Yes.
especially in T20s. Like I feel like, you know, watching Natalia and in ODIs and even like Muniba, even when she's going run a ball, I'm so grateful. And then, you know, like just knowing that if Bisma gets out, it's not the end of the world. I know that there's still situations, especially in ODIs, where if Sidra gets out, we're like, yeah, no one's scoring a century. You know, but watching Fatma step up, watching Natalia step up, and Alia doing what she does at the back end, Maniba fine hasn't had a best year. My point is, even in the bowlers, we're not relying on one person. We're not like West Indies with Haley Matthews or Sri Lanka with Atapatu, and even England to a certain extent with NSB. Although England is England, but you know what I'm saying,
Obviously.
right?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, like I feel like we're still growing in that sense. I don't know if I'm like desperately trying to be a little bit optimistic after we've been so cynical.
No, you're
But
actually
yeah, that's
right
how I feel.
in that case, in which you're talking कि आप, हम एक प्लेयर पे डिपेंडेंट नहीं है। एक्चुअली हमने इम्प्रूव किया है इस सिनेरियो के अंदर, क्योंकि कुछ अर्से पहले तक वी वर हाईली डिपेंडेंट ऑन दोज टू बैटर्स, जवेरिया खान एंड बिस्मा मरूफ, फॉर स्कोर रन्स। मतलब
Yeah.
कि बहुत ही कम ऐसा सिनेरियो। आई रिमेंबर रीडिंग समथिंग लाइक 2017 का वर्ल्ड कप चल रहा था, बिस्मा गॉट इंजर्ड इन सेकंड मैच, एंड आई रिमेंबर रीडिंग दिस, I don't know if it was a Facebook post or a Twitter tweet of some journalist, and he said that now Pakistan isn't going to win a single match at that moment. और वो वाकई हम कोई मैच नहीं जीते थे उसके बाद, so we were so highly dependent on these few players
Mhm.
at that point. अभी तो हम उस चीज से
Yeah.
बहुत आगे निकल चुके हैं कि we at least ये है कि एक नहीं होगा तो दूसरा जो है वो स्टैंड लेगा,
Yeah.
they are going to do.
Exactly. And we hold them to that standard. I like that. You know, it's not despair. Especially with the way the lower orders step up. I know I already said that. I'm really, really happy that they are because that's really important. And kudos to our tail as well. Like they've been in some really difficult situations, especially in the last few months. And the fact that they stand there and score some runs is really, really important. Even Najiha, the way she did it was amazing. Okay, so on a parting note, this has been longer than I wanted it to be, but I kind of saw that coming. When it's women's cricket, it always ends up being a little bit longer than I intended to be. On a parting note, tell me, do you really expect a Pakistan Women's League announcement this year? And this year, we're talking on the 4th of January, which means you have 360 more days PCB. Do you think it's gonna happen? Like the announcement, at least?
Yeah, I think it might happen. I don't know. It's just
Yeah,
yeah. I feel like it might happen. Even if it's not like especially I think अगर एक प्रॉपर सेटअप आ जाता है, इलेक्शन हो जाते हैं पीसीबी के अंदर, so देयर इज
yeah,
अ चांस कि वी माइट सी टेट के हो जाएगा अब ये, क्योंकि ऑब्वियसली जो इंटरनेशनल कंपटीशन है इस हवाले से वो बढ़ता जा रहा है, तो मे बी पीसीबी थोड़ा सा उस चीज़
yeah.
को लेके प्रेशर फील कर रहे हैं अपने ऊपर। सो आई थिंक फिंगर क्रॉस्ड।
Yeah, नहीं, I think exhibition matches तो होने चाहिए. I
यस।
mean that'll just be mortifying if they don't happen. मगर I have a really strange feeling that they're going to end the year with the announcement. I don't know if I'm just being really optimistic and I'll have a completely different opinion on this by the end of the year. But I feel like if I don't have this belief that they're going to announce it by the end of the year, that's going to break me. So I'm going to choose to believe that they will. And hopefully it'll be like a proper kind of 4 or 5 team, not something lame. I mean, I would say 6, but I don't think the PCB is gonna vibe with that idea. But yeah, I mean, you and I are gonna do the draft soon. And we have what, 3 teams, 4 teams? How many do we have?
थ्री
3 teams.
थ्री
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll show the PCB that's definitely doable, and we can maybe make a fourth one just for laughs later as well. But yeah, okay. Thank you so much for watching. This was as off the cuff episodes are, more of a rant, more of just like an impassioned, long complaint, a letter. Sakina and I have had these conversations off screen before, but I'm glad that we got together and we did it on screen today. And I hope that you guys, like, I don't know, learn something related to us a little bit. If you have any opinions on Pakistan women's cricket or any women's cricket, whether that's on domestic system, on the international calendar, anything at all, drop us a comment below, or you can find us on Twitter as well. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for coming, Sakina. It was really, really nice to have you.
थैंक यू इमान।
Awesome. Kudafis, everyone.